Okay, we are open up to the next clean page in our math notebooks. As I was telling you guys earlier, last week we focused on multiplying fractions. This week we are focusing on dividing them. However, today we are going to talk about how fractions are already very relatable to division. We're not going to be dividing any fractions today, but we're going to just talk about fraction relationship with division. So we are titling our page 9.1 Fractions and Division, and today's date 2/22/21. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up when you have our title and date at the top. Thank you, Will. Yes, you should have that. Thank you, Allison. Yeah, next year we'll be able to do that, right? Thank you. You'll still see me. It'll be fine. Hey, it is note time. Thank you. Turn off your voices. I see a few people finishing up our notes, or our title, I should say, and date. Today's date is 2/22/21. Voices off. All right, are you ready for me to scroll down? Okay, so we have, I think, two notes to put on the page first. So first, fractions show division. Get that written down, and notice I put like a fun spiky box or bubble around the word show, and I put the word show in all capital letters. Do you think I'm trying to emphasize the word show? Yes. Fractions show division. You might be thinking, Missy, what do you mean? I'm going to show you. Thank you, Will. Put your mask, please. Thank you. Thank you, Richie. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Senna. Thank you, Grayson. Thank you, Addie. Thank you, Yosius. Thank you, Chanel. Thank you, Elena. A few people finishing up this note. Fractions show division. Quickly. All right. The reason why I say fractions show division is because whenever we see a division sign, that equals a fraction bar, or the bar in any fraction. So when we have 1/3, we have a 1 as our numerator, we have the bar in the middle, we have a 3 on the bottom. That means, or that is the same as 1 divided by 3. I'm going to write that off to the side, and you can too. So what that means, by the division sign equals a fraction bar, 1/3 is the same as 1 divided by 3. They equal the same thing. So if you see 1 divided by 3, that equals 1/3. So back and forth. 1/3 is the same as 1 divided by 3. 1 divided by 3 is the same as 1/3. So that division sign, that is the same as our fraction bar in a fraction. Exactly. So a fraction already shows us division, 5th grade. Because if you think about it this way, if you say, I'm going to eat 1/4 of the pizza, that means I am eating 1 out of the 4 pieces. Or I'm splitting the whole, into 4 pieces. Give me a thumbs up when you have this written down. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, after this note, we're going to have some really big words to write down. And what I mean by that is the words aren't long. We're just going to write them largely because they're important. Let's see. Is it actually brighter in my hands out now? So the division symbol equals a fraction bar. Can I scroll down? Okay. So, oh, I see some people who need another moment. Okay, perfect. So, when it comes to us interpreting a fraction, like if we're asked, okay, turn this fraction into a division problem. That's kind of what we did here. 1/3, that equals 1 divided by 3. We are thinking about split between. So we're splitting what between what? So if I say I have 4 pieces of pizza, and I have a whole pizza and I'm splitting it between 4 people, I'm splitting 1 between 4. So that would be 1/4. Does that make sense? A little bit? We're going to practice this. So if I had let's say 3 sundaes, and I'm splitting it between 6 people, I'm splitting 3 between 6. So that would be 3/6, or 3/6, or 3 divided by 6. Does everyone have split between? And there's a line after split, and there's a line after between. So that's where we put our 2 numbers that we will be using to figure out what it is, either as a division problem or a fraction problem. Thanks, Grayson. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Michael and Mackenzie and Elena. Thank you, Addie. Thank you, Senna. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you, Richie and Frankie. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Allison. Okay. So, can I scoot this up? Okay. Scoot this up. So, we want to think of this as split between. I have 2 examples. We're going to look at one at a time. So let me put a post-it over the second example for just a second. We'll get to it. Okay. So I want you to split your page in half a little bit. On one side, we're going to have example 1. On the second side, we're going to have example 2. So example 1 says, how much of a pizza will each person get if 5 people share 3 pizzas? So just write this down for now. Give me a thumbs up when you have this written down. Then I'm going to tell you what we're doing with it. So example 1, how much of a pizza will each person get if 5 people share 3 pizzas? How much of a pizza will each person get if 5 people share 3 pizzas? Thank you for giving me a thumbs up when you are ready. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Frankie, do you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, how do you decide how you split it when there's...
We're going to talk about that.
You don't know how many questions you have.
We're going to talk about that, okay? Thank you, Senna. Thank you, Richie. Thank you, Chanel. Thank you, Elena and Grayson. So how much of a pizza will each person get if 5 people share 3 pizzas? Thank you, Addie. All right, are we ready? Is there anyone who needs more time? Oh, I see just a handful of people finishing up the last part. So to address Frankie's question, he asked, how do we know how many slices they get when they don't tell us how many slices? Well, do they ask us how many slices in this question? No, they're just asking how much of a pizza. So sometimes, that was a really good question for Frankie to ask. Sometimes they'll split it into slices. So they could say, how many slices will each person get if 5 people share 20 slices, for example. In this problem, we just want to know how much of a pizza, and there are 3 total pizzas. So we don't need to worry about the slices in this one. Does that make sense, Frankie? Okay. So to figure out how much of a pizza each person will get, we're going to set up our split between. So underneath, split, put a line, between, put a line. Then once you have this written down, think about what are we splitting and who are we splitting it between? And you can plug in those numbers. So splitting what between whom or what? Give me a thumbs up when you think you got it. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So we're splitting what and between whom? Awesome. Put my hand back in there so it gets brighter again. Awesome. Thank you. And I'll show you too in a second. I want you to see if you can figure it out first. So we only have 2 numbers in this problem. So there's only 2 ways you can put your numbers for split in between. You can always try and guess too if you want to. But we're splitting what between what? All right. Are we ready to look at this together? Okay. So our question says, how much of a pizza will each person get if 5 people share 3 pizzas? So what is it that we're splitting up? Raise your hand. What are we splitting up? What are we splitting up, Allison? We're splitting up 3 pizzas. So we're splitting 3. And who are we splitting it between? Or what are we splitting it between, Michael? 5 people. So we're splitting 3 between 5. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. Why we put the 3 after the split and we put the 5 after the between. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. Okay. We're splitting 3 pizzas between 5 people. So that means, actually what I want you to do is underneath this, write what that division problem would be then. Write what that division problem would be. And it's okay if you get it wrong. That's what notes are for. We'll look at it together. We're splitting 3 between 5 people. What does it look like as a division problem? And then also, so you write the division problem, then you can put an equal sign and write it as a fraction as well. So for example, if I was saying the division problem was 1 divided by 2 for like another problem, 1 divided by 2, I put 1 divided by 2 equals 1 over 2. So write the division problem in the fraction. If we're splitting 3 between 5, what does that look like as a division problem and a fraction? Give me a thumbs up when you're at least ready to look at this as a class. Awesome. Thanks, Allison. Thank you, Grayson, and Mackenzie, and Michael, and Chanel, and Abby, and Zoe, and Elena, and Richie, and Jack, and Will. Okay, let's look at this. And Senna. So, we are splitting 3 between 5. Our division problem would be 3 divided by 5. How many of you wrote 3 divided by 5? Okay. Now, is there anyone who wanted to write 5 divided by 3? Yes, because instinctually we want to take the larger number and divide it by the smaller number, right? But that's not what we're doing. We're splitting 3 between 5. So we're taking 3 and dividing it into 5 portions for 5 people. So we're taking 3 and dividing it by 5. So what would that look like as a fraction? I want you to think about how you would say the fraction in your head. Then on the count of 3, I want you to tell me what that fraction is. 1, 2, 3. 3/5. And is that our final answer? If this is a word problem, what do we need in our answer? No, does it say slices? 3/5 of a pizza. So 5th grade, when you have a fraction that's less than 1, so 3/5 is less than 1, you should have of a in your answer. We can't say 3/5 pizzas because 3/5 that's less than 1, so it's not multiple pizzas. So we would say 3/5 of a pizza. Now if this was like 5/3, then we could say 5/3 pizzas because that's larger than 1. But 3/5 of a pizza. Okay, we're going to do the same thing, but with another example question on the other side. So go ahead, get this written down. How many cookies will each person get if 4 people are sharing 11 cookies? Then you can go ahead and fill in our numbers for split in between. Makes it brighter. How many cookies will each person get if 4 people are sharing 11 cookies? How many cookies will each person get if 4 people are sharing 11 cookies? Then go ahead and fill in our split in between. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Thanks, Spanky. Thank you, Mackenzie. Thank you, Allison and Will. Thank you, Richie and Grayson. Thank you, Elena. Thank you, Sana. Thank you, Shana. Thank you, Yosef and Addie. See a few people finishing up. Thank you, Michael. Again, for splits, that's okay. What is the thing or things that we are splitting up? And between, who are we splitting it between? All right, I want you to turn and share with the person next to you. What are we splitting and who are we splitting it between? Turn and share. So let's see. Jack, you can turn around and talk with Addie, and Sana, you can talk with Zoe. So what are we splitting up and who are we splitting it between? So Jack, turn around and talk with Addie. All right, ready to rock? Ready to rock? Raise your hand if you can tell me, what are we splitting up? What are we splitting up here, 5th grade? Jack? 11 cookies. Yep, we're splitting up 11 cookies. And who are we splitting it up between? Richie. 4 people. How many of you got that correct? How many of you split that in between? Got that correct? Awesome. Hands down. Now, just like we did over here, I want you to write the division problem and the fraction for this problem. So just like over here, we put the split first and we divide that by the between because the split tells us, okay, what do we have? And the between tells us, who are we splitting it up between? Yep. Yep. And don't forget, after that fraction, when you write it, this is a word problem. So think about what should be in your answer. Give me a thumbs up when you have the division problem, the fraction, and the unit. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Give you another moment or two to finish up. And so you know, I do look to see who's giving me a thumbs up. That tells me when you're ready to go on. So if you haven't given me one, I could possibly be waiting for you, even if you're done. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's look at this. So when we turn it into a fraction, we should have taken 11 and divided it by 4. Because remember, we do the split, then the between. We just go left to right. So split 11 between 4. So we're taking 11 and dividing it by 4. As a fraction then, that looks like 11 fourths. How many of you converted it into a mixed number for your answer? Okay, now that's why I wanted to see if we did. When it comes to improper fractions, we do still want to try to convert it into a mixed number. We've learned how to do that. So we would ask, okay, how many times does 4 go into 11? It goes in twice to 8, because if we try to put it in 3 times, like it goes all the way to 12. So it goes in twice. Well, 4 plus times 2 is 8. So we need 3 more to get to 11. So 2 3/4 cookies. Or 11/4 cookies would also work. How many of you remember to put cookies as your unit? Nice. Now, why didn't we put of a cookie like we did over here? Why didn't we put of a cookie? Whisper to the person next to you. Why did we put that? If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. Who can raise their hand and explain to me, why did we put of a pizza for the example 1, but we didn't put of a cookie for example number 2? Why? Elena?
Because the cookie is not less than 1 cookie.
Awesome. So our number, 11/4, that's larger than the whole number 1, because the whole number 1 with this fraction would be 4/4. So since it is larger than 1, it's more than 1 cookie. So we would put cookies. Whereas in example 1, we have 3/5. That's not larger than 1, so it's less than 1. So it would be 3/5 of a pizza. And then example 2 would be 2 3/4 cookies. I want you to show me your level of understanding 1 through 5. If you're given a word problem like one of these, of being able to write the fraction, or write the division problem and the fraction to go along with it. Show me on your hand, 1 through 5, how are you feeling with this skill? Okay, awesome. Yosius, put your book away. It is math. Awesome, hands down. Okay, we are going to get into some practice. Yes, practice. Now, for our practice problems, we're going to have 3 types of problems. We're going to have some word problems like what we just had, but then you're also going to have some where you're practicing being given a fraction and writing it as a division problem. You're also going to have some where it's the opposite. You're given a division problem and you're asked to write it as a fraction. Yes, Michael. So what I've done is each question has a couple problems with it. So like I said, with like the first part, you'll be given a fraction and asked to write it as a division problem. So I just put some division problems underneath it, and you're just going to write those as, or some fractions underneath it that you'll write as a division problem. You'll see. Okay, so I'm going to show all of them so that you can write them down, and then you can get started right away. So here they are. So like I said, the first one, the first type of problem, you're given a fraction and asked to write it as a division. It says expression. That is the same as an equation or a problem. So if you wanted to, maybe up above the word expression, write equation. It means the same thing. So for each of these, you're given a fraction. You're asked to write it as a division expression. Then for the second set of problems, it's doing the opposite. You're given a division problem and you're asked to rewrite it as a fraction. And then for 3, you're doing what we just did. You're telling what fraction each person gets. So that's when you can write your split between, write out your division problem, and then convert it into a fraction like we did up top. So we really use the split between when it comes to those word problems. That helps us figure out which number goes where. Yes, Will?
So do we not solve the number 1 and number 2?
No, don't solve it. You're just writing it. So number 1, you're writing them as a division expression. Number 2, you're writing each division expression as a fraction. So you're just rewriting it in a different way. This way we can practice viewing fractions as division problems already. So go ahead, get those written down, and then you can solve them. Give me a thumbs up when you have finished them all. If it's an improper fraction, well,
like for the second one, keep it like the second one, we have to convert the fractions. Like once we get the fraction, do you want us to convert it?
What do you mean by convert it? Do you mean simplify?
Simplify it.
If you want to, you can. If you want to simplify, you can. Quickly. Thank you. Thank you, Will. you, Abby. Thank you, Sana. Thank you, Richie. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Grayson. Thank you, Mackenzie and Elena. Thanks, Jack. I'm going to give everyone another moment or so. Most people are finishing up. Already done. All right, ready to rock. If you have a book out, please put it away. We're going to look at these together. Put your books away, please. Books away. Abby, book away, please. All right. So, we're looking at this. Number one, we need to take each fraction and write it as a division expression or a division problem. For our first one, 6/7, that's the same as 6 divided by 7. How many of you got that first one correct? Nice. So on our second one, 4/9, that's the same as 4 divided by 9. Give me a thumbs up if you got that one correct. Nice. And then our third one, 15/8, that is the same as 15 divided by 8. Give me a thumbs up if you got that one correct. Nice work, 5th grade. So how do we feel about writing a fraction as a division problem? 1 through 5, how did you feel about that? Want everyone showing me a number? Yosius, show me a number. Jack L. All right, hands down. Now, for the second one, we were doing the opposite. We were given a division expression and asked to rewrite it as a fraction. So 25 divided by 75, that is the same as 25 75ths. Give me a thumbs up if you got that one correct. Awesome. Our second one, 1 divided by 10, that is the same as 1/10. Give me a thumbs up if you got 1/10 correct. Okay. Then our third one, 11 divided by 17, that is the same as 11/17. Give me a thumbs up if you got that one correct. Nice work. How did we feel 1 through 5 about number 2? How do we feel about that skill? Awesome. Yosef, I can't see your hand. Awesome. Thank you. Good. Jack L., how did you feel about number 2 still? Okay. All right. So we're feeling really good about 1 and 2. Then number 3, we were doing exactly what we did in our example. So we had 2 word problems, and we were supposed to say what fraction each person gets. So for the first one, 8 students share 6 breakfast bars. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my split between, just to help myself keep track of the numbers. So when I look at this, what are we splitting up? Who can raise their hand and tell me, what are we splitting up in this first one? What are we splitting up in the first one, Addie? Breakfast bars, and it tells us there are 6. So we're splitting up 6 breakfast bars, and who are we splitting it between? Who are we splitting it between, Will? 8 students. So splitting 6 between 8. So my division problem right away is 6 divided by 8. So that means as a fraction, it would be 6/8. How many of you got 6/8? Nice. Did anyone happen to simplify this by chance? Richie, what did you simplify it to? 3/4. If we were to divide 6 by 2, I'm just going to show it. And 8 by 2, 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then, is that my overall answer? What do I need? What do I need as a part of my answer? What do I need, Allison? Of a breakfast, yes, of a breakfast bar, because 3/4 is less than 1. So 3/4 of a breakfast bar. And that is our answer. How many of you remembered your unit? Aha, okay, so we need to get better at that. Okay, now we have 10 friends sharing $7. So I'm going to do the same thing to keep track of my numbers. Split between. That's breakfast. It's an abbreviation. Okay, who can tell me? Jack, what are we splitting in the second one? What are we splitting up?
10 friends share $7.
So what are we splitting up there?
10
7. Nope. Yep. We're splitting up $7 between 10 people. Nice. How many of you put you're splitting up 7 between 10 people? Awesome. So that means as our division problem, we would be taking 7, and dividing it by 10. So then as a fraction, we would have 7/10 what? Of a dollar.
Or you could just say 70 cents.
Sure, you could, but we want to keep it as a fraction. So of a dollar. Nice job. All right, show me 1 through 5. How did you feel about number 3? Our 2-word problems. How did you feel about number 3? Show me on your hand. How did we feel? 1 through 5, how did we feel? Jacka, how did you feel? Michael, how did you feel? Okay, awesome. Hands down. So your homework is going to be made up of these 3 types of problems. So if on any of these types of problems you're like, I'd do better with an example in front of me, keep your notebook out on this page so that you have your examples out. Capiche? All right, so you can keep your notebook out. I would like you to, Will, why are you talking? I would like you to please open up to page 531 and 532 in your math workbook. Page 531, 532. All right, so on page 531, you are going to circle number 3, number 3, number 5, number 7, number 9, number 11, number 13, number 15, and number 19. So I'm going to say that again. We're on page 531. You are circling number 3, number 5, number 7, number 9, number 11, number 13, number 15, and number 19. Nice work today. I will put on work music.